I don't think fatherhood or parenting stops, right? I don't need my mom or dad to tell me what to do or to be there for me in a certain way. I just want them to be there now. And that's what I'm, trying to hold on to. Is like, hell, I had my kids late for one. I'm like, damn. There's some things about that, having them late, you most likely you won't be there as long, but what up? It's Three Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast. I'm Tavares Ferguson, aka Ferg, join my co-host Rozzy and Buff. Fellas, what it do?
What up, everybody? How y'all doing? I know we took the last week off, but we appreciate you guys coming back around, rocking with us as always. Only a couple things that I have, man. One is Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is suing CNN because they told on him. Essentially, they found out that he was on all these porn sites and he made all these comments. We kind of reported on it a little bit. And so he says that because they outed him, he's suing them because he's not denying that those were him. Well, he is denying that those were him, but it's pretty obvious that it is him. And so he's suing them. I don't know if it's actually going to make a difference or it's going to help at all, but oh well. Only other thing that I got, man, is an Arkansas dad shot and killed a 67-year-old for he found the guy in his missing 14-year-old daughter, or his 14-year-old daughter in the car with the 67-year-old. And so he shot and killed him. And he was arrested. I never condone violence, but I will say I understand. And I probably would have done the same. So shout out to you, Dad. It is what it is. Good job. I would have shot old buddy too. So, oh well, whatever it is.
I don't know if you can shout him out. He did kill somebody.
I'm just saying.
It does kind of sound like you're condoning violence. You said you don't, but it kind of...
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand. I probably would have done the same. So that's what hey, it is what it is. You kidnap, do whatever, talk my 14-year-old daughter into getting in the car with you. She had been missing for a couple days type thing. I want to say they had already gotten a restraining order on him and still you find them together. No. I mean, yeah. I'm probably shooting them too.
All right. Well, for many of you know that I live up here in Northern Virginia, aka the DC area. And I from time to time make fun of things up here. Like I've made fun of go-go music, said it sounds like a pair of Timberlands in the dryer. I've made fun of Marylanders who think that Old Bay seasoning goes on everything. And that's it. But you know what I won't make fun of, or who I won't make fun of? Former DC mayor for life, Marion Barry, the late Marion Barry, by the way. And Pisa found out the hard way. And Pisa thought it was smart to make like a veiled joke of the time he got arrested for cocaine. And they were selling these knots that have powder on them. And they were calling them deep Marion Barry knots. And they was like, all you need is a bump. And it was another veiled joke they made, like with just enough powder on it. Man, DC said, oh, hell no. And they apologized and took those ads down. You got to know better. Marion Barry, from everything I've heard, I know Chris Rock made the joke a long time ago, but Marion Barry means a lot to this city, and you do not make fun of him. And I just think, even if he wasn't, held in that regard, I just think that was a classless thing to do anyway. So, you about to say something, Ferg?
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, he did get caught buying cocaine.
No. That video was funny. It was funny. Because they did get him on tape smoking crack. But if you watch that whole tape, man, he was trying to get some. He wasn't worried about that crack. She like pretty much pushed that on him. Like he did it so he could like get her to shut up about it and try to clap some cheeks.
And it was crack, right?
It was crack.
That's what I thought. Because you said cocaine, and I'm like, I remember it being crack, but I was so young that I could have been mistaken. I mean, what's a crackhead? I mean, you're always open to crackhead jokes.
The funniest part is when the FBI comes in and he finds out that he set her up. The way he was cussing while he's getting handcuffed set me up. That part is funny. Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about, man, is I know there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not black men are supporting Vice President Harris. I do want to say that while I disagree with some of the takes I've heard from black men and the reason why they won't support her or the reason why they will support her, it is kind of cool for black men to be heard in a presidential election like this before, to where she comes out with a plan that specifically targets black men, and black men are really, in a way, even if it's misguided at times, in a way of flexing their political muscle and saying, now we've been here for the Democratic Party. It's time for y'all to do something for us. So whether or not you agree on how well or how bad black men are supporting Harris, I still contend that they are. It's cool to see them say, hey, we need something. You're not just going to get our vote for anything. And to Harris's credit, she's doing the work. If she loses this election, it won't be for lack of effort. That woman is out there trying to earn every single vote she can, going on platforms that I hadn't seen candidates go on before. So that's kind of cool, man. That's really all I got, though.
Sticking with Harris, she was in Houston this past weekend. Unfortunately, I was unable to make it out. I actually RSVP'd Z and I to go, but the doors open at 3 and it starts at 7, and I just didn't have it in me.
Them people was there a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even then, once it started, it was still quite a long exhibition of I don't even know what to call it. I mean, it was a rally.
Yeah. Did they actually get a Beyonce concert? Did she perform? I didn't think so. I thought she
Beyonce
spoke.
talked for 2 minutes.
And I think that was her trying to, I don't know, grow up or something like that, or show that she's more than just an artist. Mm. You know, sometimes people like shut up and sing. It's like, hey, I want to be taken seriously. And I mean, I didn't know about it until kind of last minute. So I don't know how fast Beyonce could have put something together on a Beyonce level. You know, I don't think she was like, okay, hey, we're going to perform here last minute and all this stuff. I mean, Willie Nelson and all this stuff is a little different. He sat in a chair and sung a couple of songs, and which was cool to hear. But it was good to see. It seemed like a bunch of people rallied for it. But Buff, to your point, I'm still hearing the naysayers when it comes to a lot of black men about her. And I don't know, has it always been this way, or is it just because the stakes are higher and most people are paying more attention to the political game than these last couple of elections, people are voicing their opinion more. I think the good thing about all this is hopefully moving forward, people will take politics more seriously than they did in the past. I feel like the last couple of elections, we hear people have more political conversations, or what they think are political conversations, than we did in the past. And maybe because we're older and things affect us more, or more mature, and the things we talk about have more depth. But I wanted to get your take on really fast on her fundraising, because I get a text every 10 minutes about fundraising, and I did make another. I do donate weekly, but I did get another one of those. Hey, we need your money now. How important are these fundraising efforts in these last few weeks? Can this make or break the presidency, or do you think people have made their choice?
I think it's going to be really important because I would assume this money is going to be used to really hit these swing states as hard as possible. So in that regard, it's important. As far as changing minds, I don't know if money is going to, I don't think there's any more minds to change or influence. I think by now people know who they're going to vote for. A lot of people have already voted. If you look at Georgia, and people already know who they're going to vote for. But for the one or two that are still like, I don't know, like her going to North Carolina, her going to Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, especially Michigan, Wisconsin, even Arizona to an extent, that money, I would assume, is going to be used to be hitting those states as hard as possible, because one of the criticisms Hillary got is she didn't campaign hard enough in Michigan and Wisconsin. Harris is not making that mistake. And so if you're somebody that really, really wants to see her win, then yeah, those extra dollars will help.
Because I was actually shocked to see her in Houston. I mean, Texas is going to Texas, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if
I don't think that was more so for the presidency. I think she was there to drum up support and people to come out for
reproductive.
Yep.
It was for reproductive rights.
Yeah, it was on reproductive rights, and I think they're really trying to make a push. I think they have a really good chance of overturning that seat and taking Ted Cruz out. Already has a shot.
I hope so, but these commercials are freaking ridiculous. I'm so glad for these to be over. It is, already too liberal, too woke for Texas, all kind of stuff. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Is this the first election Cruz has been up for since Cancun?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be interesting to see if voters hold that against him.
Yeah, because he only won by like 4 points last time.
I think it was like 200,000 votes total.
Right.
Yeah.
In the state of Texas, bro. That's how close it was.
Yeah. Back to the election, with Kamala and Trump, they're saying that it's going to be, once again, one of the closer elections as far as vote-wise. But depending on how these states swing, it could be a huge electoral college win for one of them. So it could be somebody can get over 300 points, right? Either way, depending on how it goes. So it's going to be very interesting. I don't think we're going to find out the winner Tuesday night.
Nah. Come through, Florida, though. Florida, the media ain't talking about y'all. I think y'all can be the shock of the election cycle. I think y'all are in play. I don't know why it's not being mentioned. I think Florida is in play, and it's too bad she hasn't been campaigning there, but Florida can really shock us.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the show because we got a little time to go. Let's get it.
Let's do it. Sophie's out. She, like I said, she spent the night with her friends, but I got a joke for us today. So what's the leading cause of dry skin?
Water?
Towels.
I was mad at it at first, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
I knew it was something practical and stupid like that. So, with all due respect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So who wants to go first?
Hi, here's your report.
Thanks, Jane. I wish I could hire a whole team of yous.
Try posting a job on LinkedIn. It's the world's largest professional network. Unlike resumes, LinkedIn gives a real-time view into a candidate's skills, experiences, and more.
Let's do it. You're irreplaceable, Jane, but another you would be great.
Find your perfect match with LinkedIn. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
It's been so long since we recorded. 2 weeks always feels like a long time. I don't know who went first last time or whatever.
Well, I'll jump into it. So, my son, I think I've talked about it on the show before. My son played soccer this year, and yesterday was his last game. And it was very, it was somewhat emotional for me just because soccer was the first sport I ever played. And my dad, the one that passed away a couple of years ago, always tells jokes or reminisces of taking me to the soccer field and how excited I used to be pulling up to the game. I would jump out of the car almost before the car stopped and run across the field. And I just remember those moments with him, and spending those moments with my son have come full circle. And it's just, sometimes just, it's full circle. And I just, sometimes just wish I could talk to him about those moments, so that's kind of what made me think of this question. So how has raising your kids, especially after the death of a parent or parents, affected your views on your parents or parenting as a whole?
The two words that come to mind, and I guess it's kind of almost the same thing, but grateful and appreciative. And it's so funny. I just literally mentioned this to, I think Tabitha either last night or 2 days ago. But I think I've mentioned on this show how, one of my regrets is not going to church consistently and bringing Jasmine up, as a church kid. And I was saying, even without going to church, though, she still has spirituality within her. She tells me she prays about certain things like that. And I was telling Tabitha, that's because of my mom. I said my mom was big on that. Like whenever she would visit up here, they would be upstairs in the room and she would be reading a kid's Bible to her and taught her about praying and things like that. And so I am just so appreciative of that little thing that she did for my child, to where my child reveals to me sometimes I get nervous about a test and then I just pray about it and then I wind up doing good. Like, I'm like, Dad, like, I don't even take you to church. And that little bit my mom did, it stuck with you. So I'm just appreciative on the micro of that, but on the macro level of everything my mom did for me. Like listening to you guys, Razi has Ali in soccer. I think Ferg, you said TJ just finished his season. Just listen to what you guys do for your kids and things like that. As a kid, you don't recognize that sacrifice your parents making. They got to work, get off work, take you to some practice, make sure you got something to eat when you come home, get up and do it all over again. Like your schedule is now dictating how they move on a day-to-day basis and stuff like that. And, me playing football at Peters Park when we beat Bessemer in the championship. Sorry, Ferg. Cheated. It's no need for that. It's no need for that. But no, man, like, her taking me to practice and stuff like that. Just the sacrifice, man. And, now that she's gone, it really hits me more and more each time, and just how important it is. Even I'm not even sure my mom knew what impact she had on Jasmine by doing that. But no matter how small it is, you never know. it can last with the kids, man. So sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, and I may have only done it 1 or 2 times, but sometimes that is enough. And that's something I've learned just from my mom, and I'm appreciative of it.
Definitely.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for sharing. And I think we're coming up on the 30th anniversary of the Peters Park screw job that happened.
All right. It's time for us to contact 30 for 30. ESPN Films. Let's, and let's get the 2 teams together, man. We need the refs involved and everything, man.
Nah, man. Oh, man.
I can't admit it was a bad call.
It was a horrible call.
But I also shouldn't have been kicked out the game. They shouldn't have kicked us out the game. Like in football, you're allowed to scuffle a little bit. It ain't basketball.
No, you're not.
You know what I mean?
No.
You can scuffle a little bit.
No, you're not. It's just they let you get away with a certain thing.
Yeah, okay, well, fine. Fine.
And when they hold you to the letter of law, like your curfew's 10, you come in at 10:05, like I'm not that late. But that time you come in at 10:05 and like you're grounded, you're mad. You were wrong. You were wrong. Razzie, what you got for us? Because I can't with Buffalo.
No, man, it's so funny you bring that up, like coaching and all of that. Like I was last weekend I had to ref, or Friday actually. So it was our last game. Ref didn't show up, so I had to be the ref. And it was kind of that same thing, Ferg, where like I'm out there and I'm making the calls and people are on me. I just want to say shout out to anybody who refs, umpires, anything like that, because those dudes catch it. You're doing the best you can. You're trying to call it, how you see it, and people are on you, man. They do not like it. So shout out to them. But I echo what Buff says about appreciative and just kind of thinking back on, how I raised the kids based off of what I saw my parents do. And when you talk about feeling like you're not doing enough, you guys know that's one of my biggest things, right? I always felt like I wasn't doing enough. I'm not good enough, like, in my dad's eyes and that type of thing, and living up to him because he was just such a big figure, in my life. And, like I was at work and every week we have a kind of, we call it an icebreaker question. And they were like, what's a perfect weekend? And for me, I was like, a perfect weekend in my eyes is just a day at the ballpark because, growing up, my dad didn't just coach. My dad ran the park, right? So it wasn't, we went there for one game and we left. We literally were there at 7 a.m, opening up the park, and all the games we were there. So we didn't leave the park until 2:33 when the last game ended. Sometimes 5, depending on how many we had. And like,
so he was like my Uncle Herschel then.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So my dad and and her, like, they knew each other really, really well. And so because it was that same thing. And so it like in my eyes, that's what it was. And so when folks question, why do you coach? And I was like, and I thought that's what you did as a dad. Like, dads just coached. Like, that's what you do. And so, and to your point, Ferg, it's that's really what it is looking at what our parents did, right? You just make it happen. Yes, you got to get off work to get them to the thing that they have to do or whatever. I was at, Sophie had a debate on Tuesday, so I had to get off at 2 so I could go pick her up so she could be at the debate at 3. And then from 3 to 5, she was debating. So I'm just sitting there listening to her debate. So it's all of that, man. It's making sure you're there for the kids, figuring it out, seeing what's more important. And it's not work. I think a lot of people think that, I got to go make this money and everything. And as a dad, that's a lot of times, what's the saying? If we miss a bill, if they repossess the house, it ain't on the wife, right? It's on me. So like going to get that money, going to get like whatever, it is important, but at the same time, like being there. And I don't know how my dad did it at points. My dad had 3 jobs at sometimes, like he'd have 2 jobs and in the reserves. Like, I don't know how he was making time to still be the coach and run the park and be there for practice every day and all that. I was like, how? Like, when do you sleep? And so going back to how I raise the kids, it's that. It's like, I'm just going to figure it out and make it happen. If I'm tired, oh well, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to get you to your things. I'm going to let you be involved, right? I'm not going to be like, well, no, you can't do anything because I'm tired. This is just not how it works. So I think that's the biggest thing that I brought forward. And like Buff said, I didn't appreciate that. I didn't think about how much of a sacrifice they were doing when they were there, and my mom too, right? I'm talking about my dad just because I'm in that situation, right? That dynamic, but it's the same with my mom. She was there, she was making moves, and with 5 of us, right? They were like passing ships in the night sometimes, where you take Rosie to here, you got to take Pooh over there, Gina got to be there. Like, they were just moving. Luckily, they spaced us out enough that I was driving by the time Tootie got there and we could help and that type of thing. But I mean, it was that they were still there, baseball games and all of that. And I really do. I really appreciate them being there and making sure that we had everything that we needed, because they could have been like, no, you're not playing that, right? I can't afford it. But like I said, my dad would go get a second job just so he could pay for baseball, or he could just pay for softball or whatever. It was never a, no, we can't afford it. It's, all right, let me go make it happen. And I just appreciate him for it.
Oh man, that's awesome. I mean, definitely missed. And I think we're all appreciative. And I can relate to everything you guys have said, especially like Buff, you were talking about like not taking the kids to church, and when Jasmine to church is something that I've talked to Z about, even just trying to do it more often so my kids can get that general knowledge, that, the basics. I think it's easy for us to step away because we got the basics. It's like playing sports. Like, none of us went to college on a scholarship or played. And like, Buffy played a little in college, but it's like, we got the basics of being on a team and all that stuff. It's the difference in never playing an organized sport or anything. Everybody's not going to make it to the league. Everybody's not going to be the mother of the church or marry a preacher. But we can all say we kind of grew up enough in the church that we understood the norm. And just being an appreciative, like you said, Razi. For me, I'm going to kind of talk about some other stuff. So for me, I think I'm more confused now than I've ever been on trying how to balance everything. Kind of what you were saying, Razi, where you'll be tired, you'll do that stuff. And for me, I'm trying to figure out, like, man, how do I do it all? And part of that also is being a husband and also being an individual, because I want my kids to see that, right? I want them to see that, I don't know, not that you can have it all, but my kids started going with me to some lamplighter meetings. They went with me last week to a community service. They go to a couple of meetings with me, and I think they appreciate seeing their dad do that. I know TJ loves seeing me coach. I take him to every game, stuff like that. And I'm okay with it because I think my parents were confused too. There's no book on it. There's no book on any of this, and it's easy to be judgmental. And I don't want to be like my parents when I grew up. I want to do this, I want to do that. But like you said, Buff, sometimes I think it's just showing up and just being there. I think that was you saying that. And that's one thing I try to do. I try to make it to all my kids' events, anything they have, especially with the school. These last couple of weeks, I've missed things, and I never miss anything. And it kind of, hit me hard missing those things. But showing up, having those times, because I took a picture with my son, took a picture with TJ yesterday, and Z took a picture of us, and I was in the moment, just feeling happy to be there. And I kind of was like, man, I know my dad is smiling, probably joking. It's like, I remember doing that with him. But when I saw the picture, it made me emotional because it was a timestamp, and it just really hit hard. And the fact that I'll never have that time to have that conversation with him. And I say that because, just speaking about our fathers, all 3 of us have lost them, right? And I think it's because, not because, but part of it is, some of the life we live, life choices they made as far as working hard. And one of my fears is working myself to death, putting so much pressure in the stress of life and being a provider and being a protector and trying to do it all and be it all, that they get it and they get as much as me if they can, but not long enough because I don't work myself to death or stress myself to death. And I'm struggling with trying to find that balance, because as much as I wish I appreciate my dad being there. Damn it, I wish he was here. And that hurts. Yeah. It's like, you were there, you did so much, but man, I wish you would have missed a soccer game so you can go to my son's soccer game. And so that's what I'm struggling with. And like with my mom, my brothers and sisters and I were talking yesterday about trying to spend more time with her, because just like all of us, she has more days behind her than she has ahead of her, and making sure we spend that time with her. And not let life get in the way, not let travel or the drive or what she thinks she has on her calendar, things that are important to her. Like, we gotta find a way to make that happen. And I've been struggling with that a lot lately. Like, man, as much as they did, it's not that I wish they could have did more earlier. I wish they can do more now. And so that's one of the things I'm focusing on, is how am I here for the long haul? And so, like I said, my mom and dad did everything they could. But I'm not ready to let that go. I want them to continue to be in my life so I can do things for them as well. And that's all I got.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Love you. But I will say you're doing a great job of balancing, right? Like, you have to know when to say no, right? Like, you're not playing 2-3 sports in the same season or something like that, right? It's like, look, you get one sport. What is it? Right. I've had to do that where the kids, they want to do all these things. And I'm like, well, you got Taekwondo and this one thing. If you want to do something else, then one of them got to go. Which one? Taekwondo got to stop, or this, it's like making them make the decisions. Right. And learning to limit their time too. Because they might think they can do all these different things. But they have to think about, you still got school, you still got all this stuff. You're going to be tired just as much. So which one, right? You got to learn to balance your time, and maybe kind of teach them about making choices and that type of stuff versus you having to make that call. Just say, you got to make a call. You only get one. I only got this much time to take you to all these things. Kind of explain that and just say, so which one do you want to do? What's more important to you? Right. And that's one that we're going to be all in on, but we can't do multiple type thing. So just have those conversations, man. That truthfully, that the kids are going to appreciate whatever you give them. So don't feel like you got to do way more than, what you're thinking. You're doing a good job just by getting them there, showing up and being there. Right. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, I get that. I think for me, I don't think fatherhood or parenting stops, right? I don't need my mom or dad to tell me what to do or to be there for me in a certain way. I just want them to be there now. And that's what I'm, trying to hold on to. Is like, hell, I had my kids late for one. I'm like, damn. There's some things about that, having them late, you most likely you won't be there as long, but I don't want my kids to have that same missing, because I'm pretty sure we all have days we wish we can talk to that other person on something simple, not even life changing, even though I think I was saying when I was dealing with TJ, that would have been a conversation I know my dad would have loved to have when he was having some discipline problems at school. He would made jokes on it. And I think I ended up calling you, Risey, right?
Yeah, we talked.
I called you, I called Action, I called a couple of guys. But my first thought was, I wish I could call my dad. So let's move on. Give a brighter note, something.
I don't know if mine's a brighter note. You got one, Buff?
No, I was just gonna say, great question. Great question.
Yeah.
I do have one, but it doesn't matter who goes next.
Go ahead, go for it.
Well, I mean, mine's is simple. Started out talking a little bit about politics, and we are, I think, like 9 days. When this episode drops, we'll be 8 days away. So my question is simple. Who wins, and why do you think that person wins? Because it's allegedly going to be a very close election. So whichever one you said is going to win, what is it that puts them over the top? What puts Trump over Kamala? What puts Kamala over Trump?
I'll go. I do think Kamala takes it, and you guys opened up talking about the spend, right? The money, the donations, the fundraising. I think they're running a better campaign right now. And I think that's what puts them over the top. I think Trump is not doing media, right? He didn't go to CNN. He didn't go to, like, he is receding into his comfort zone. He's doing all these podcasts and that type of stuff. Those things are very targeted to non-independents. Like, people go listen to a podcast when they think like the podcaster, and Trump is going to the podcast that think like him. And so it's not swaying anybody that was maybe on the fence about voting for him. So I think when you look at who's reaching out to the independents, the undecided voters, who's doing a better job of getting out in these swing states and things like that, it's 100% Kamala and her campaign. The CNN town hall that they invited Trump to, it was supposed to be a debate and it didn't, so it became a town hall, right? Kamala was there. Kamala's doing all these media things. She's bringing in Beyonce. She got the Taylor Swift endorsement. We always talk about endorsements don't matter, but when you're talking about a race this close, I think they do. I think they may sway, a 10th of a percentage of people that weren't going to vote that follow Taylor Swift, and like the Swifties are going to vote. Like, that could be 10,000, 15,000 votes, right? It might not sound like a lot, but when you're talking about something this close, every little bit matters. And then when you talk about all the Republicans that are kind of coming out saying, what is it, Milley coming out talking about Trump's fascists and that type of stuff. You got Republicans that are jumping ship and coming out. And I really feel like the Republicans are trying to purge themselves of MAGA, or at least get out enough that they can actually go back to a more central instead of far right Republican Party. And so when you look at all those different things, I think it's Kamala by, a hair. It's still that close, but I think she's going to pull it out in these swing states, because that's really all that matters at this point.
That is the $1 million question, right, Buff? I don't know, because like Rozzy said, I think Kamala's running a better campaign. Right. She recently did a Fox News interview.
Yep. Went on Fox. Yeah.
That's a big step, because we know who and what Fox News has become over the years. And to go up there and pretty much, I think she held her own pretty much on that interview. She did what she needed to do. So we know who watches it, but also there are some independents and people that she could appeal to. And I don't think that interview hurt her at all. But Trump fans are almost like Cowboys fans. It doesn't matter what happens. They're still going to support. They still got a chance. You never can count them out. And it doesn't have to make sense. And if it's close, my fear is the backhand politics Trump has been doing might win him the election, or
steal him the election.
So yeah, Kamala might win the election. I think Trump might steal the election this year. I think he's better positioned. He's been putting the pieces in place. and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's conspiracy theories. I mean, that could definitely change a Georgia outcome. That can change one of these swing states, one of these, all he needs is just to win this state. And he's now the president, or get something reversed or returned that he can win this election. And that is my fear. I'm unfortunately, I think Trump's going to win it because of that, and foreign politics right now with Israel, and like it's a lot going on. And I think some people want to see a change just because of that. I don't know how big this Israel-Iran thing's going to play out. Maybe it's not as big as I'm thinking it is. But I think the foreign politics and everything that's going on abroad is going to, and the need for a strong, quote unquote, strong leader might play into his favor, or the appearance, the thought, even though it's irrational, it's the fact that none of this would have happened under Trump's reign. And I use the word reign, that people fear. So, what say you?
I'm almost kind of with you. Like, even when I asked the question, I'm like, can I say I don't know? Like, I don't know seems like the best. That seems like the best damn answer to give. And I actually was just, as Razi was answering, as you was answering, I actually was going back and forth on which one. Because when I originally wrote this question down to ask on an upcoming show, my answer was Trump. It was like, I just think if you look at the polling, she's not polling as well as some of the swing states as Biden was. And we know how Biden barely won a lot of those swing states. And then you couple that with, I don't think she's going to win Georgia this time. I don't think, Biden didn't even win North Carolina last time, and I definitely don't think she's going to win it. It just, everything pointed to Trump. So I don't know if this is my hope speaking, but I'm going to say Harris. And I'm going to say Harris for a couple of reasons. One, it has a little conspiracy in it. I do think the media needs a close or seemingly close election in order to have something to talk about. The closer the election, the more they have to talk about. They have to fill up those 24 hours. And I just wonder if the polling is somewhat skewed because
Hillary.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just wondering if they needed to seem closer than what it really is. I have for the longest seen that his base is his base, and it doesn't get any lower and it doesn't get any higher. But he did get more votes in 2020 than he got in 2016. So maybe his base does grow. With that said, though, I just think his supporters are much louder than Harris supporters. I think there are people that don't necessarily like Harris, probably don't necessarily like the Democrats, but they may be tired of his act. At the end of the day, it's like, look, I don't really care for her. I'm not with all this transgender stuff that this liberal media is talking about, but I'm sick of his act. I'm sick of just the outrageous things he says and does. And at the end of the day, I believe in rule of law, role of government, the three branches and how they function. And so I do have the fear that you have, Ferg, that he may steal it. He has put the pieces in place. There is someone in North Carolina that is suggesting that they give him the electoral votes now because of the hurricane and saying that, hey, we know how they were going to vote anyway, so let's just give him the votes. We know he's put people in place in Georgia and in Arizona and things like that. So, but if it's not stolen, everything is on the up and up and people show up. I think they learned that lesson in 2016 that you got to show up. If people show up, I think she barely wins in the swing states, but electorally, she might cross that 300 plateau. So, again, I don't know if that's my hope speaking, but I just think his supporters are just much louder than hers. They love the Trump flags. They love the Trump signs. I know a lot of Harris people, I ain't putting that sign in my yard. I don't want them problems.
Right.
I'm good. They're just going to go and vote, and that'll be that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And with that, I think there's a lot of Republicans that are doing that exact same thing. They're going to go and they're going to vote. I really feel like the polls are underrepresenting Harris support because of that. So they tried to figure out that whole Trump underrepresentation in the polls in 2020 and in 2016, and I think they over compensated for that. And I agree with you on the whole conspiracy of they need to make it close. I saw that Fox News poll that had like a margin of error of plus or minus 9 or something like that. And so, like, at that point, is that even like?
Yeah, that's not a margin of error.
Yeah. They might as well flip a coin or play rock, paper, scissors at that point. Like.
Yeah. So, you know,
speaking of Fox News, Rozzy, if I may real quick, Rozzy, that interview she did with Fox News, Brett Baer came out, and I see people are giving him props for admitting that he made a mistake with the clip that he showed and saying it was supposed to be a different clip. And in real time, she called him out on it. And the next day he apologized when people like, that's bigger. No, I don't give him no props. Because if you felt that way, you would have said it at the interview. She wouldn't have even had to defend herself. He would be like, oh, no, we actually left out part of the clip that we were supposed to show, Madam Vice President. My apologies. He didn't do that. He tried to double down on it.
Yep.
And say, well, this is what he said. Nah, don't wait until you get the smoke and then try to apologize. Brett Baer gets no credit in my book. Fox News is trash, by the way. If you get your news only from them, you get trash opinions. They showed you their real thoughts when they text messages leak. Sean Hannity showed you what he really thinks about Trump. Tucker Carlson showed you what he really thinks about Trump. And y'all still soaking that up. Y'all fools.
Love it.
That's not nice, Buff. They are fools, but you can't call them that on a podcast unless Trump's on. All right, we got time for one last question.
Yeah, we should be able to.
Rozzy got a hard. He got it. You sure?
Yeah, I got like 10 minutes, but yeah. Well, we do have to close out too, don't we? This one might be quick though.
Yeah.
So, WNBA just finished. Shout out to the New York Liberty for winning the championship there. But what I want to say is, and the finals had, I think, it was up 150% from last year. It's the biggest finals viewership with over 3 million concurrent streams on there. And so they're doing a really good job. But coming off of the season, the Players Association has opted out of their collective bargaining agreement. So they're going to try to get some more of the non-existent money because the WNBA is still losing money. I think it's like $4 million or $40 million or something like that a year. They're still losing. And so, but the WNBA is going to try to get more money. So I want you guys real quick opinion on, is it a smart move for them to go and try to renegotiate, or should they just keep playing, try to get to where they're positive, and they're actually earning money and then try to negotiate? Like, do they really have much power when they're still losing money?
They're still losing money, but I think the trend is showing that they're going to become profitable. If you look at the ratings of not just this season, I know all the focus was on this season, but their ratings have been trending up, I think, for the last couple of seasons. And then, of course, with the addition of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in this rookie class, it skyrocketed. So from what I've seen, they are going to have some very nice TV contracts coming up. And I don't know. I think they are in the position to negotiate now. So go for it.
Ideally, it would be great if they were in a positive. But I'm assuming these are intelligent women that they've had counsel, and somebody's telling them now is the time, right? I don't think they're just sitting around, like, you know what, we ain't signing this shit. Like, I don't think that's how that worked. I'm pretty sure somebody's telling them this is a time to strike before these contracts come up, because the owners in the NBA are going to do what's going to be best for them. And like, hey, we're going to strike while the iron's hot and while the future, like we're trying to get in beforehand. Now, will it work? That's the question. Does it make sense for them to do it? Yeah. Will it work? I don't know, because I don't think the NBA is in a position. See, the thing about it is the NBA is not in a position to lose, right? Even if the WNBA became profitable, what is profitable, right? Do you see them ever being as profitable as the NBA? Like, okay, this year they made $10 million. So what? So it's somebody's giving them counsel. We got to understand what their relationship and what the goal is. They're probably saying, position, hey, do you want to be on the right side of history, NBA? We'll see how it turns out. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think you don't go ask for the money after you've earned it. They pay football players, quarterbacks on the potential. So, hey, we pay us on the potential of what's about to happen. Because you don't want to go there when we're profitable. So.
Exactly. That's why I brought it up, because I see a lot, you always, right, you go in the comments under something when they announce this, and it's that's stupid and this, that, and the other, and I wanted to talk through it. So I want to throw the economics out there real quick. It's $50 million. That's how much they lost in 2024. So they're still losing money there. The NBA owners control 42%, and the players only receive 10% of league revenue. That's their agreement right now, based on, what they have. And I think it's a good time based on, like you said, all of these, as they get into these contracts with the new media contracts, like the strike might actually hurt some of those negotiations. Do we want to do that or not? And so I think it's a good time, and it gives them leverage for it as they negotiate the new media contracts, to be able to say, you need to talk to us first before, you don't have a product to sell to the media. So I think it's a really good time when you think about it like that, of we need to get us, this is probably the most leverage they're going to have for at least the next 5 to 6 years with the media contracts, because that's really where they make most of their money. It's not from ticket sales.
Are the media contracts being signed this year? When are they going to effect?
Yeah. Well, what happened is they had a package, but if you like, you had to stream a lot of the games from like their personal stream, like that team streaming. You didn't actually have like, that type of thing. So it wasn't like you had actual media there, right? It was the homegrown media team of that team that was streaming it for you, versus a network coming in and putting their streaming or whatever on there, and it streams through the WNBA, actual WNBA coming in and doing it, or it's the actual media, NBC, ABC, or something like that, going in and doing it. And so they're going in and trying to get media where ABC is going to come in and put full production behind it and all of that. So it's very, very different than, oh, we got 2 cameras streaming and, some local announcers, and that's it. You're going to have like way more media. And with that production value comes more viewers, right? It's like that, all of that matters. And so I think as they negotiate that and try to expand that, now's the time to do it.
It's not even just production value. It's ease of access. It's like, I watched a couple of games, and it's cumbersome to watch a game. Like, you have to commit to watching a game versus commit and be intentional versus, you can be just scrolling to the show. Oh, I forgot they were playing today. And now you're watching the Liberty versus the Sparks, right? Like, you don't have that luxury. If you want to watch
Right.
Caitlin Clark play, you got to go watch. You got to like, okay, I'm going to go make sure to download the app. I got access. I got to do this. I got to stream it to my TV. You know, like it takes time. So now it's just, I'm flipping through the channels and I'm on it. Now, maybe because of the way television is going and there's more streaming apps and it's becoming normalized, that might help as well. But if we can watch Thursday Night Football, they can find something to put WNBA on. That's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. I think that might have been the quickest show we've done in a while. Let's go ahead and close it out.
Clorox Sentiva smells like lavender. Cleans like Clorox. And feels like...
All right, that could go on for a while. Experience the long-lasting freshness of Clorox Sentiva, now available in Clorox Sentiva Lavender Scented Bleach. Use as directed.
Love, exciting and new.
Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever.
It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships at Bermudan and British Registry.
Cool. Only thing I got, man, is I love shouting out when people get the upper hand in the Georgia election workers that, you know, they won the lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani for defamation. And Rudy Giuliani was like, well, I don't have the cash to pay him. And so the court said, we don't care. Give them all your assets. And so now those two ladies have a penthouse in Manhattan. They have a whole bunch of assets and all kind of stuff because the court said, give them whatever you got. And so I just want to shout out. I can't wait to see them walking in, talking to the doorman, coming off of as election poll workers and coming in and saying, yeah, let me up.
Moving on up. To the east side.
Exactly, man.
Deluxe apartment in the sky, baby.
Yeah. So shout out to them, man. And finally, I just want to shout out Sophie. I talked about her doing debate. She also had a math tournament. They came in second place in the math tournament. Her team did for that. So she is loving it. She's not a athlete. She's a mathlete, I guess. She uses her brain, but I'm super excited and happy for her just out there, doing what she loves. And she's really good in debate. So, little budding lawyer, but you guys hear her every week on the show. So, she just likes to talk. So arguing is just second nature to her anyway. So shout out to her, man. And, just keep doing what you're doing, baby.
Awesome.
First and foremost, Contentville, what up? Thank you guys for listening to us. Make sure you subscribe to us on any podcast platform. We shout out the listeners from time to time, but I just want to shout out those long-time, consistent listeners. Man, I went to my coworkers' Halloween party last night. I was Jay-Z, Tad was Beyonce from the On the Run 2 tour. And we had a lot of good discussions, man. And one of my coworkers that I don't even see that much anymore because he's moved to a different building on the hill, he was like, "Hey, man, what happened to last week? Y'all ain't dropped a new episode." I was like, I had to remember that he listens. I running into people that you forget listen to your show is always just like it's such a humbling and rewarding feeling at times, man. So just thank you guys for rocking with us. What I want to close out with, man, is I don't want to over-exaggerate, but I think Michelle Obama last night in Michigan gave the most effective political speech that I've heard in 16, maybe even 20 years. Because 2008, I felt like Bill Clinton laid out an effective speech on why we should vote for Obama. And of course, Obama in 2004 at the convention, that pretty much launched his presidential career with his speech. But Michelle laid out the case on why reproductive rights for women matter and how it not affects just women, but how it affects men, the men in their lives, and how it's not just about abortion. And I feel like the campaign, Harris included, they only focus on the abortion part. And there are so many people that are like, not only are they against abortion, but they may not even really, that's not an issue for them. That's not what they care about right now. She made it so relatable to the health of women and what they face, man. I see why the Republican Party was terrified at the thought of her running, because I feel like that was a very, very effective speech, man. She said, do something at the convention, and she is doing something. I thought this was funny, man. I don't know why this crossed my mind, but I was looking at LeBron James's wife. I guess it was, they had the season opener with the Lakers, and him and his son checked into the game, and they were showing shots of Savannah James. And it just crossed my mind. I'm like, man, I really think Savannah can fight. Do you know how many high school girls she probably had the elbow when her and LeBron was dating, and we knew he was going straight to the NBA, and other women was probably, other girls, I should say, when even women yet, other girls was like trying to slide in. And shit.
Women too.
Man, that girl.
Women too.
That girl. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. She had to be ready to fight every day, bro.
It's like, I got to fight every night
So
to prove
to
my
see-
love.
First thing I thought of.
So it's cool to see, you know, their relationship make it through everything that I'm sure they've been through with just the media spotlight alone, man. So, but I just thought that was funny. And last but not least, man, I went from how Michelle was effective to Beyonce came out there on stage with VP Harris in Houston. And I always find it interesting to see people do something that they're not comfortable with. And it's hard to believe, but Beyonce clearly is not comfortable speaking to large crowds, which is crazy because she can perform in front of 80,000 people. But she looks so nervous. Even just walking out there, she had to hold Kelly's hand as she walked out there. And, you know, she got through her speech or whatever like that, but you could tell she wasn't comfortable. But I think it's important to do the things that you maybe are not comfortable with, but you think are so important that you got to do something or say something. And so I just want to give her props because she's like a worldwide superstar, but she still has, I guess, certain fears and things like that. And
She's human.
She got, yeah, she got out there and did it, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Before you go, I almost forgot. So we're gonna drop on the 28th, and so speaking of Savannah and successful relationships, I just want to say 1 year, happy anniversary, Leah. 1 year since the hey, how are you DM. So love you, babe. So just wanted to throw that out there. Happy anniversary,
Leah. That's as good as it gets. Take it. If I can find a video of his best man speech at my vow renewal, you will understand that's as good as it gets. I have three things really to go over. One is a PSA. We talked about kids and parenting, and I urge people to pay attention to your kids. Talk to them. Really talk to them. I've been talking to my daughter, Skylar, who's 9 now. She turns 10 at the beginning of the year. A lot about politics and things that we probably don't normally talk to our kids about. She's inquisitive, and I'm glad that she's open or thinks enough to want to ask me questions and feels comfortable, because she was asking about Trump and even about Ted Cruz. She likes all red, it's funny. And she just wanted to understand why, what is it about him? And then we start talking about women's reproductive rights and talking to her about abortion, and it in a way that 9-year-olds can understand. And then we start talking about voting against your own self-interest, and you can tell that she was taking it all in without trying to impose my thoughts on it. Just giving her examples of what's going on. So people talk to your kids. Same thing I do with my son. I talk to him all the time. My kids get an episode of a podcast every day. They get a Ferg speech. So But Skylar said she appreciates me doing that with her. And so does TJ. Speaking of my kids, I want to congratulate them. They're got their first quarter report cards. TJ had all mastered and satisfactory on his report card, his first report card ever. And Skylar, in true Skylar fashion, once again has remained an all-A student. So Skylar has been an all-A student her whole life, and I'm just proud of her for doing that. And she's had a very tough last couple of weeks with some of the things going on in school, but she was able to maintain and stay focused. And I think her lowest grade on her report card was a 94. So, because I joke with her when she gets a 90 or 91. And so Daddy's proud of you. And last but not least, it was a great week for us. My wife, who some of you may know, is an artist. I call her a blippy. She's a black hippie. So she's an artist by nature and at heart. And she's an art teacher for Sci-Fair. And they had their first, as black people say, their first inaugural. They had their inaugural Sci-Fair art teacher art exhibit. So the majority of the art teachers in the school district submitted art pieces and stuff like that. So Z had her first art showing, and she submitted a piece called Lotus. It was beautiful. And so it was great to see her there and talk to people asking about her work and her inspiration. So congratulations, baby. I know this is one of many. Continue to do what you do. I'm proud of you. And with that being said, 3 Brothers No Sense, 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.